Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Elise. I talk all about elevated living, conscious consumption, and being mindful about our impact that we have on the planet. Today's video is a juicy one. It's delicious. It's music to my ears, and it's all about how the girlies are sick of wearing plastic. I never thought I'd see the day come, but in social media, my algorithm has been shifting, and I feel like there's just this general consensus that people are sick of wearing polyester. And it's not maybe so much your average day-to-day consumer, but it's more so the girls that are into fashion and that get it and understand the quality difference between synthetic and natural or man-made natural materials. This is definitely going to be more like podcasty chit-chat style, so grab a snack, grab a tea, grab a coffee, maybe just pop your earbuds in and clean up while you listen to this because it's going to be juicy, it's going to be chatty. I myself am bundling up under my heated blanket, so don't mind if I get cozy. I also really wanted to weigh in on this discussion because I have an associate's in fashion marketing, but a bachelor's in environmental science, and the way I'm melding those together in my day-to-day life is A, this YouTube channel, but B, I'm a fashion production coordinator for a pretty well-known name brand, and that they're trying to be a little bit more sustainable in their efforts. So I thought my perspective as not only a consumer, but someone on the inside in the day-to-day of how fashion is produced would be some pretty valuable insight, and I'm excited to get into it. I really think the shift probably happened more of like mid 2025, honestly. It wasn't so outright, but it was like a slow kind of gaining momentum of things, and it's really the fashion girlies that are like leading the charge in a way. And it's more people that maybe they're not necessarily creators, but where I'm seeing it is like the commenters. They're on people's TikToks commenting, or Instagrams commenting, or fashion brands commenting, or Reddit, and they're leaving comments like, that's 100% polyester and the price is that high, no thanks, or why would you expect me to pay that much for something that's 100% synthetic? Or people asking for brands that are fairly priced that do use natural materials and aren't going to charge them up the ass for literally oil and petroleum byproduct. It's those types of like comments that I pick up on, and that I see this general shift towards wanting natural materials in their clothing. They're not wanting to put on synthetics. They're not wanting to put on oil onto their body. I think also the Taiwan Vogue cover of the model just covered in like slick, disgusting, gross oil, and the commentary of such clothing being made out of it, and just the overall like, hey, this is actually what you're putting on your body. It's not a metaphor. It's not an analogy. Like, you are literally dressing yourself with these petrochemicals. There's also been a really large discourse around athletic gear, like you're doing your Pilates and your wellness practices and your Zen yoga, but you're also draping yourself in polyester. So then when you go and you do these really either strenuous workouts or hot yoga or, I don't know, sit in a sauna, you're then opening your pores and your body to all these chemicals that are pushed up against you. It's like when we banned like BPA from water bottles, we're not doing that with our clothing, and it's almost like drinking BPA filled water bottles, but like you're clothing your vessel, your temple, your body in these same sorts of chemicals. And I get it, it's not like as literal and as dramatic as like drinking water filled with BPA, but the similarities are there, because if you're exercising or you're sweating or you're living your day-to-day life, like you are in some way, shape, or form in contact with those chemicals and potentially ingesting them, especially wearing sweaters or honestly really anything that is shedding microplastics. It's ending up in your waterways, our waterways, everyone's waterways. And there are now, I don't even want to get too far into this, but we have microplastics like basically in every organ. For me personally, I'm so for this. I'm so excited that people are starting to care in a way that it seems like the general public hasn't really cared before. I think if you look at the thrifters and the secondhand girlies, whether they're into sustainability or not, what they can agree on is quality of clothing. And I think thrifting is maybe about a decade and a half or a decade behind what is trending right now. in most cases. Like sometimes you'll find like the one-off, like trendy piece that was gotten rid of for whatever reason, maybe like a button's missing and that person didn't want to take the time to repair it, so they just donated it, which is still better than throwing it out. But point being, like that's like more of a one-off scenario versus things that are being donated like bags and bags at a time. It's been like someone's doing a closet clean out from styles that they just don't wear anymore, and then it finally ends up in a thrift. So what we're seeing now, though, is these same thrifters that are either trying to reduce their impact on the planet or stretch their budget a little bit further are noticing that a lot of what's in the thrift store is now from Shein or Forever 21 or Zara, H&M, and it's just crap quality at the end of the day. And also with the cost of living crisis and inflation here in the United States, thrift stores are still tagging these like top dollar, like it's like $8 for a polyester sweater. No one wants to pay that, but it's also getting to a point where it is becoming so much harder to find natural materials or even mostly natural blends, which is crazy. Like anything 50% X natural material and above. When I most recently went, it was pretty difficult. Like I found a lot of good options, but then also a side note, people are cutting tags out of their clothing, which I get, like they get itchy, but when I come across that, if I can't touch it and tell what it's made out of, or like be like that's cotton or cashmere or silk or wool, like I just have to pass it up. I'm not going to take the chance of like having polyester in my wardrobe. So stop cutting the tags out if you're donating things, first of all. PSA. Also, it's just becoming so much harder to weed through what's in the thrift because it's now being inundated with just cheaply made clothing and cheaply produced fabrications. And it's rough out there. It is rough out there. It's becoming increasingly difficult. And then when I'm on Depop, I will literally ask every single person, I'm like, what is this made out of? And like wait for their response before I decide if I even want to buy it or not. ThredUp, I click, thank God for ThredUp though. I just like click the natural materials little filter and that gives me everything. The only issue is like a lot of times it looks like things are shrunken. So I kind of have to, weed through in that way. And it narrows my search down by so much. But I think that just speaks to the larger fact of so much fast fashion has inundated even like the most like sacred feeling of places that used to be a surefire way to get quality clothing at like a very fair price has now become even more muddled and just a lot more difficult. Like thrifting, you used to have to take a lot of time regardless just to find like what style or look you wanted, but now layer on top good natural materials. And I say good because for me, they're going to last in the long run. They're not going to fall apart very quickly. If they need a repair, I feel good about it. But it's just become so much harder because what was produced about a decade ago, shout out 2016, that's trending right now, has become such an implosion of fast fashion. Around 2016, I vividly remember on my old channel doing a Romwe versus Zaful versus Shein like haul of all three of those places. And it was jarring because the sizing was so small. First of all, it was like for Chinese women, not American women. And just proportions and like size of people are different. Also just globally and like across brands, sizing is different, but especially those places. But as a teenager with like a tiny bit of disposable income, I remember being able to shop from 3 separate places and still get a decent bit of like clothing pieces and outfits from each one and not spend that much money. I don't think I spent over $200 shopping like between the 3 places. And that was as a teenager. And I know I was not and am not alone in the sense that fast fashion was accessible. The barrier to entry was so much lower. I mean, it still is. You still get like a $5 dress or shop on TikTok shop. But I think the rise of those fast fashion companies has flooded the world with so many cheaply made plastic garments. And it's a shame, but I feel like it's kind of good that we had just this really quick, short decade of such disgusting fast fashion, because now we're at this point of like, we're sick to our stomach about thinking of putting on polyester or nylon or acrylic or any of those sort of variants that are just going to fall apart super quickly and not last us. Like, I want to be able to pass on hand-me-downs and vintage clothing pieces to my daughter and to her daughter and have things that are of value that last a long time. A bodysuit or a dress or a cheaply made sweater from Target or Shein is not going to do that. That's not going to make the cut. I do feel this general shift, especially when I'm looking at comments of people commenting on things from like higher end brands or brands that people expect more from. It'll be a piece tagged as if it's natural materials and like good, and it's still 100% polyester, and people are outraged in the comments. They're outraged leaving reviews, they're outraged on Reddit, and it is delicious. I love seeing people, the consumer specifically, reject what's being put out there and save their money or put it towards a different item that actually aligns with their values or is more of what they're looking for. I remember recently my fiance pointed out to me that Kith, which is like a pretty big streetwear, hypewear brand. I would call it more like hypewear. They do a lot of collaborations, but regardless, they marketed on their website this winter jacket full of 100% goose down, and when it got to consumers, turns out on the tag it was 100% polyester. People were outraged. I mean, rightfully so. Like, if I was bamboozled in that way, first of all, they would never hear the end of it. I would go on like a smear campaign. But secondly, I thought like I was getting something of super high quality, of super high value. For it then to be polyester would just be so disappointing, and I would never ever trust that brand again. And what they were offering was 100% refund and return the item, or you keep it and get a 20% refund. It's that latter option of like, oh, you can keep it, but we'll still give you 20% back. That begs the question of, so are you admitting that natural materials are better than synthetics? And it's like, we as consumers know that. We're not having the wool pulled over our eyes and thinking that polyester, acrylic, nylon are just as good, if not better, than natural materials, especially like I mentioned earlier, like my wellness sustainability girlies, like they get it. If you are trying to improve your health and your well-being, it's all about what you're consuming and what you're putting in contact with your body. Like, petrochemicals are not good for you. They are poisonous. They are causing climate change. We know that for a fact. It is proven. 99.9% of credible scientists agree on that fact alone. And us as consumers are starting to finally like shift. Our public perception is starting to shift. We understand like it's great that I could get a super cheap t-shirt the next day and it be made out of synthetics. But I'm starting to realize I want my wardrobe to last. I want it to be valuable and long-lasting and retain its value and maybe be able to sell it into the secondhand market and get something back. I'm not going to be able to sell a dress that I got from TikTok Shop for full value or even 50% after I've worn it a handful of times. A nice sweater, however, that's 100% wool, maybe will retain its value, most likely. I do find it really satisfying seeing those comments of people being like, wow, you're charging hundreds of dollars for this and you can't even make it out of nice materials. I hate to call out my girl Molly May because I love her vlogs. They're like my comfort vlogs for sure. But her brand maybe is not like H&M priced, but it's H&M quality materials, if you catch my drift. They're definitely not leading in natural materials or things that are just like higher quality in that sense. And she did have that big scandal of like the fabric that she put out or produced with having lots of issues, which happens. I've seen a lot of bulk fabric either need to be rejected and completely rerun. It must have been just like, I'm speculating here, maybe like a mill relationship or factory relationship that just wasn't quite established yet. But regardless, that's another good example of people kind of like dragging her in the comments of being like, you are putting out something that is definitely not in the everyday person's price range, and you're still using majority synthetics or like barely natural blends. It's kind of like a slap in the face. And that goes for her, but so many other brands out there as well. Like if you are going to charge that like mid-tier creeping up to luxury tier, why are you still making things with mostly polyester? I know the answer to that is margins typically. And then on top of that, with synthetics, you just get so much more bang for your buck. You can have polyester mimic so many other fabrications and not need it to actually be like silk, for example. You can make it into a satin weave and it still performs more or less the same. So I understand why brands do it. It is for their bottom line. But what I'm loving to see is that consumers are taking from the bottom line because they're not giving over their money in the first place. They're demanding better and are withholding spending dollars until they see better, which again, I love to see. And there's always going to be the discourse of producer versus consumer, who should be held accountable. I think typically, unfortunately, it needs to come from the consumer, the push for either better materials from the companies and saying basically, we will not buy from you until you do better, or secondarily, push from consumers to regulatory bodies, whether that's governments or mostly governments, and that push from consumers being like, we want for our health and our well-being to have fashion companies produce quality, natural, and safe garments. However, in our current climate, political and otherwise, that doesn't seem very likely. So I do think the more likely push is just the continual shift in public perception and the continual push for better quality garments. And I don't know, I'm really excited to see where this continues to go. And I love that a lot of fashion girlies are like kind of waking up to this. And I will say, those that are more sustainability focused have probably been on this train for a while. And the fashion girlies, like the more widespread kind of like, oh, I'm into fashion, I feel like that crowd is now coming into realizing how important it is for your clothing to be made of quality material, whether it's a blend of natural materials or 100%. It just is so much better for you and your wardrobe, and it lasts longer, and it's just chicer, and it looks more elegant, more put together. And while I don't think every fashion girly is on that exact mindset or wave, I do think the general consensus is like natural materials are better, point blank period. Which obviously, as a sustainable and fashion enthusiast, I love to see it. I love to hear it. I'm like hearting those comments, giving thumbs up. I'm replying like, yeah, totally, or like agree 100%. And it's just a discourse I welcome very much so. But I want to hear from you. Are you into fashion? And if you're not, do you still care about what your clothing is made out of? Because then there's also another entirely different sector of people who maybe they don't give a rat's about fashion, but what they do care about is if it's going to last them long. They don't really care about their style. They just are putting things on in the morning just to get out the door. And it's those kinds of people I'm wondering if they care at all, or do they notice, or is it more just like, this is fine, it'll get me through? Or are they worried about how it feels on their body? Are they worried about how it hangs on their body? I'm really curious. I kind of want to speak to those people too, or like have them weigh in on things. Because it's like, you could be mindless about fashion, like you don't care about the style or the design of it all, but you still care about what you're consuming. I think that's totally fair, and that's like not off the table at all for people to still care about what they're consuming but not care about fashion. And maybe it's just also a more conscious consumption shift as well. But I also have to like remind myself that I'm on this very specific part of the internet where it's like sustainability and personal finance and self-improvement, like, and sometimes vlogs. Like that's like my bucket of like internet content that I consume. And I'm obviously going to be getting a lot of like, oh my God, sustainable fashion, ethical fashion, and people being really conscious about what they bring into their wardrobes or into their life in general. Or are they health and wellness? Are they taking care of themselves? All that kind of stuff is definitely like what I enjoy watching. So it's what the algorithm is going to continue to recommend me. But I don't know. I feel like those are kind of big niches though at the same time. Like those aren't super like small niches. of the internet. But what I can say is that I'm excited for this to gain momentum in 2026 and continue to pick up and spread to like other spheres. And hopefully corporations start to actually take notice and realize that if they want to keep their consumers spending their hard-earned dollars, that they need to produce better quality products. And just a little tidbit at the end here, I am still against recycled polyester. I don't care. It's still not good for you. It's still not good for the planet, recycled or not. Is it a step up from polyester? Yes, but it's still basically at the bottom of the barrel. So just had to clear that up too. I'm so curious. Are you someone who really like looks at your tags? Are you studying things before you buy them? Are you like, okay, they're charging $50 for a polyester dress versus $125 for 100% silk one? Like, what do you gravitate towards? Are you saving your coin for something a little bit more high quality, or are you someone who's like, I feel like I need this, I'm in a pinch, I'm just gonna go with whatever option is cheapest, I don't care what the materials are? Very curious to know. I feel like I've definitely been there. I've been feeling like I'm in a pinch and I just need to get something and I will sacrifice what it's made out of. But now I'm kind of in the stage of life of like, okay, I feel like I have a really good basis of my wardrobe to build off of, and even if something is not 100% organic or natural materials, it doesn't mean I'm going to throw it out. I'm still going to wear holes in it or until it needs repairs. And once I repair it, can I not repair it anymore? Then at that point is the only time that I'll like get rid of something or donate it, because I love my wardrobe. I've gotten to that point. But at the same time, I've been there. I've been someone who used to thrift polyester or synthetic things and think, oh, I thrifted it, so I can just thrift more and get rid of it. And like almost had like a fast fashion consumption mindset, even with like secondhand being my main way of bringing things into my closet. All that to say, been there, done that, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. Don't beat yourself up. It takes improvement like day by day. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it if you made it to this point in the video. It's a chatty one for sure, but I really want to know what your take is and how you feel about natural versus synthetic material. And is there something that you gravitate towards? Is it mostly like price conscious, or are you, regardless of the price, like it needs to be 100% or majority natural? I want to know. The algorithm is going to recommend a video at the very end of this one, so stick around and see what that is. I'll catch you guys in my next video. Until then, don't forget to be kind to yourself, others, and the planet. Bye.